Werewolf bar mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with our special guest, Tim Davis.
Hello.
This is the podcast where all three of us saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema. Hint, hint, give us some sponsorship, Regal, even though we know you're struggling in other areas. And now we're going to talk about it in the parking lot, in Matt's Honda Pilot. We're going to try to discuss such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you see it in theaters or maybe wait for streaming? Should you burn it if you ever come across it? Or should you frame it and put it up on your wall? We try to cover all these topics and maybe a little bit more. I am Todd Dover.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, Tim's with us again, and we're excited to have him. And we're going to talk about a movie. But before that, I just want to give a little sneak preview of a little project that Tim has completed recently that we will be exposing to fans in the near future. And that is a spreadsheet. That's right, man after my own heart. A spreadsheet of all the movie ratings for all the episodes of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies.
Just to be clear, something that we've talked about doing forever, and
Yes.
neither one of us wanted to do.
Correct. I think at one point...
I'm bored enough that I had enough time on my hands that I said, you know what? This is a worthy endeavor.
Yes. So soon you'll be able to sort by Matt's favorite movie or worst favorite movie or Todd's or our guests or what's the
All kinds
worst
of
rated
statistics.
movie ever that we rated, and various other things.
That's going to be fun.
Noise.
Yes. So thank you, Tim, for that.
Glad to contribute.
A labor of love.
Yes.
And
We all love movies here, and I figured it was only fitting that we had a way to track our love.
yes. So there's some surprises in there, but we'll
Yes.
save that. We'll save surprises for later.
Yes.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, just like normal.
Yes. All right. So we saw a movie tonight called Halloween Ends. The latest, perhaps last, entry into the
You kinda promise
Halloween
it.
pantheon. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. First of all, famous people in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis reprises her role as Laurie Strode yet again
For like the seventh time.
for the seventh time. And so that's about it for famous people, right?
I would say,
Yeah.
what's his name again, Tim?
Will Patton.
Will Patton.
Not a big part in it, but yes.
Okay.
Recognizable face.
He's the older cop guy who's like her friend.
Right. Okay.
You may remember him from such movies as Remember the Titans.
Gotcha.
And I do believe I read that it's still the same guy under the mask for Michael. Like
Yes.
the same stunt double.
It is.
Yes, he's been doing it all along.
He's credited as the shape.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not just some guy. They actually got him to keep doing it.
So,
He's probably done by now.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like, I hope it ends.
Yes.
yeah. So I'll give you a little backstory on the Halloween franchise. So, they made the first Halloween movie in what, 1970 something?
It was 78.
78.
Because this was the reboot in 18 was 40 years later.
Right. Okay. So that's when it started. Jamie Lee Curtis was in the first, I don't know, two
For sure.
Two.
And then she came back sporadically in other movies.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but as far as the last three movies, which this is the third in
Yes.
the planned ending trilogy of Halloween, the canon is movie number 1, Halloween, from
78.
78, and then you skip everything else, and then you have your trilogy at the end. Is the canon story of
This
Halloween.
Yes.
I can't remember how the original 2 ends.
I don't remember.
There's a possibility that 2 counts too. Because 1 and 2 happened.
Two happened right after
Yeah.
one ended.
So either they were like, because 1 and 2 of the new trilogy happened right after each other. So either they were paying homage to that, or maybe it did count. I don't know. I can't remember the ending.
I don't remember the ending of 2 either. It wasn't as memorable as 1.
Well, I don't think it's part of
No.
what happens in the canon. But go watch.
Open for interpretation.
Go watch whatever Halloween movies you want. Okay, so that's kind of the backstory here. Jamie Lee Curtis is in sporadically, but she's featured heavily in the last three trilogy.
Yeah, I would argue she's the main character.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. So there's your backstory on Halloween. Now, what is this movie about? What happens in this movie? And how can I tell you about it without any spoilers?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard.
The
but
story is full of...
I will
but
try.
also I feel like you know what you're going to get from a Halloween
Correct.
movie.
Sure. So this takes place after the previous two movies. Obviously, you've got Laurie Strode back as in her role as matronly grandmother who wants to kill Michael Myers at all times. She's somewhat reformed.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say
Reformed
more
from being
survivor.
psycho.
A survivor, but also trauma.
Yeah. It's alluded to that she's been through a lot of therapy and has stopped drinking and no longer is building trap houses to kill Michael Myers.
She's a big thief for what it
Yes. She lives with her granddaughter, whose parents were killed by Michael Myers, and her granddaughter is grown up now into some kind of nurse character.
Yeah, a nurse.
She's a nurse.
Yeah, sure. They really pounded that message into the movie. Did you know she's a nurse?
Yeah, she
Yes,
works
we
in a
know.
medical facility.
Yeah, she's a nurse.
Yes. Right. So those two characters are there, and then right at the beginning of the movie, you get, I think, introduced to this character named
I don't
Corey.
remember him.
Don't remember.
Yeah, from the other.
And he, there's a theme in Halloween of having babysitters and
Yes.
Michael Myers killing babysitters or finding people who are babysitting. Anyway, the movie opens with this sort of little scene of this character Corey coming to be a babysitter for a kid while the parents go out on Halloween night, and the kid's kind of like, they're watching a scary movie, and then the kid's like, Michael Myers is going to get you. He always gets the babysitters.
Yeah, and the year is 2019
Right.
for that. So it's the year after everything goes down from the first two movies.
Right. So one thing leads to another, and the kid ends up dying, and this kid Corey gets kind of blamed for it, but I guess he gets off the hook, and it's just ruled an accident. They don't really show you what happens, but it seems like it's an accident. Like the kid falls to his death. But it doesn't look good for Corey. So anyway, there's resentment about town to Corey. We flash forward to modern day, and Corey has gotten off and is now a grown-up person who is a welder and lives with his parents. So, in a junkyard. No, they don't.
They don't live in the
He
junkyard.
works in the
junkyard.
He just,
But it's- works
his
there.
dad
it's
owns
his-
the
it's his
junkyard.
dad's
He works
business.
there.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway,
You may also call him Junkyard Corey.
junkyard Corey,
If you like it.
if you would like to.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure.
So anyway, Corey gets involved with the granddaughter. What's her name?
Allison.
Granddaughter.
Allison.
Oh, okay.
Granddaughter
Because
Allison.
he said her name quite a few times.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So they kind of get involved and have a romance, and then I guess Corey is kind of, I guess, getting fed up by all the bullying and the mean looks, and he kind of snaps and tries to fight back against some of that, and there's kind of mixed results. And of course, as you would expect, Michael Myers is in this movie, and he's been living inside of a sewer drain.
Yep.
For the past 2, 3,
4
some years.
4 years since he's been seen.
Yeah. and occasionally, apparently,
Seemingly the worst for wear.
yeah, apparently he periodically drags people into the sewer drain, as the local homeless population who lives near this drain explains to us, the viewers.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's pretty much it.
basically Corey and Michael Myers decide they're going to team up, and the rest is history.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Yeah, that was
It all leads up to a climactic scene.
showdown.
And I won't tell you what happens.
Yeah,
But
a climactic, but I would also argue anticlimactic
Yeah.
confrontation.
Correct.
yes. So that's I think where I'll leave it. Todd, your thoughts on Halloween Ends?
Well, I gotta put this out there just at the beginning. This is not a good movie.
That's putting it mildly.
And there's a lot of things wrong with this movie. I mean, it's not even scary. Like, I mean, it really wasn't even scary to me at all. Like, they had only like 1 or 2 jump scares that really weren't
And they were fake
anything.
outs. Yes.
Yeah, and so the few things I liked about this movie that I was starting to like, and then they just kind of like did away with it, was having seen these 3 movies. The second movie is so heavily about mob mentality and how, like, almost like spreading chaotic fear. Like, if everyone buys into the fear, what does that look like in a small town and stuff like that? And so that was a huge theme for the second movie. And it kind of worked its way into the start of this movie. We have this character, someone, he's babysitting a kid. The kid dies. He's blamed. Or at least some people blame him, some people don't. But it's also, like, kind of carries on that it was the Halloween after the Michael Myers thing, so it's almost like in all that hysteria, he got caught up in all that hysteria. So people have been
Lumped
treating
him
him
in.
poorly and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of continued this idea of, like, mob mentality, kind of stuff, what effects that can take on people. And that was one of the only kind of interesting things about the second one. And then it was like, it started off in this one, and then almost as quickly as it's kind of established, it's abandoned. For hokey hijinks. Like, I don't know what else to call it. Like, so, and the bond between Michael Myers and Corey is established after Michael Myers grabs him and they stare gazingly into each other's eyes, and it just kind of, and then all of a sudden they're like, did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Yup. Like, it just, so I like the start of this movie was super interesting. The Corey character was also very interesting until they just kind of went off the rails with him. And besides that slight interesting point of the movie, everything else was just done poorly and is not, it really wasn't even enjoyable. Like, it just, including just some of the worst dialogue where, like, so many times in the movie they're like talking about how evil can be an infection and it grows and it's an infection and stuff like that. And there's a scene where they're on the roof and she looks at his hand, Corey's hand, and she's like, infected. And I'm like, I got it. Like, holy crap, you can't make it any more clear than that. Wow. So it just, I can't, even if you like Halloween movies, I can't even support you seeing this because it doesn't even, it makes no sense to where 2 left off and this movie picks up. Like, 2 ends off with the townsfolk basically beating, stabbing, shooting, doing everything they possibly can to Michael Myers. He shrugs it off and kills a lot of them. That's how 2 kind of ends. And this one, when we pick him up, he's like kind of broken down sewer rat, like, like, just like, okay. And then another thing that I thought was super interesting, and they did nothing with it, was when we see our first Michael confirmed kill, he goes from like a hunchback kind of like ailing person to standing straight up, and it's almost as if like he's healing from the evil he's doing. And I was like, okay, let's dive more into that. And nope, not at all. Like, it's just that scene only. And then the rest of the movie, he's just a dude. And it's like they're not even consistent with their own themes. And I didn't like that aspect of 2. But since it was done, you might as well continue it and dig further into it or do something. And it just was like, I think they were so focused on giving Laurie Strode a send-off. Or Stroud, or Strode, yeah. I think they were so focused on how do we give her a send-off that will make the fans, I don't know, happy, even though I don't think any fans are leaving this movie happy. And it all came at the cost of the story of the movie, the frightening of the movie, like the scariness. I mean, it all suffered because they were like, we have to get to this ending and we have to send Laurie off and happiness or something. I don't know. It just wasn't good. I can't recommend it, honestly. So it's not going to get a good rating for me. It's a sad, whimpering end to this new trilogy where like 1 was, I thought, really great. They came in strong and it was like, holy crap, you revisited the story after 40 years and you did it justice and it's like really good. Bravo. And then 2 came in and we were all kind of like, what is happening? Why are you doing this? And it's weird. And then 3 came in and we were like, we should have just stopped at 1. Like, there was no saving grace of this 3 that justifies 2. Like, it just... The only thing I can guess is that they were trying... So there was like 7, 8 movies of the original storyline.
Yes.
And I think they were trying to cram all 8 movies into these 3 movies and do the theme elements of those movies, because it gets supernatural in those movies. It gets weird and crazy, and I think they were just trying to do all of it in 3 movies. Like, the first 2 were standalone, like, this is a dude in a mask and blah blah blah. And then they kind of there is like a, what's it, like Halloween 7 is like Season of the Witch or something. Like, it just gets weird. So I don't know.
The curse of, or the
whatever.
Yes.
I'm done. It was not good. I've probably gone on for a lot longer than I should have. Tim?
I think it may not sound possible, but I hated this more than you did. I, in fact, would use the word I despised this movie. As I was watching, none of the characters are likable, and I wanted to like Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, but they wrote her so depressingly and victimly, and not in a way of like where you're rooting for the hero who survived some terrible traumatic experiences and is a hero that you're rooting for. She's so depressing. The granddaughter might be the most unlikable person I've ever met in a movie, not counting Corey, who obviously he's not redeeming either. And it's just, who are you rooting for in this movie? And you don't even root for Michael because he's barely in it. And the kills we get, I mean, this doesn't sound macabre or whatever, but like when you watch these movies, some of the fun, if you want to call it that, is the kills are clever or, just brutal out of nowhere, or something you're just expecting to like get some type of visceral enjoyment out of it. And none of the kills in this movie, some of them were almost like PG-13 where you didn't see them. It was just like a scream as the knife approached. And I'm like, what are we doing here? If you're going to at least dive into the, bloodshed, do it. But they didn't even do that. And it was just, I don't know. Everything that could go wrong with this movie, I think, did. And I'm usually up for a slasher movie where, and that doesn't have to be fun, like ha-ha fun, but like, you know what you're getting, the thrills you're looking for, or the scares, or just a general sense of dread or something, or even the one-liners, but none of that was in this movie. It was a depressing, long sod through this horrible world that you don't want to revisit. And like you said, Todd, there are some ideas in there that could have been an interesting movie. I think the whole idea of having not seen the 2 rebooted movies that you have, I think there's an interesting concept maybe in a town affected by a serial killer / slasher. Right. How does that town live on after that? I think there's some interesting concepts there because we never really see that. We only see the hero's journey and the killer go through it, and that's it.
And that's largely what the second movie is
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
Is about
Yes.
the town as a whole.
I think that's
and how they're-
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but like Todd said, that you get hints of it, and you're like, okay, let's explore more there. Nope. We're just gonna go to this other crap we have.
Well, yeah, especially in the beginning of this movie, as like there's a voiceover introducing you to everything, and it's like showing the fact that every Halloween there are either killings or people killing themselves.
And so then
Like
people
to
are just
show that like the
right.
hysteria is continuing and stuff like that.
And people just have this like as you would affected by it, and then everyone anybody connected to it, you label a freak show or a weirdo, or I don't want to associate with them, and
Right.
there's some interesting stuff there, but nope, not explored. And then if we're gonna do a mentor, killer setting up the next killer thing, I mean, so many other even horror franchises have done that better. Well, Saw or all those various other ones where you're actually get guy trying to mentor his other henchmen to become a better killer. Like that, none of that was here. There was nothing to that. There was no depth to that relationship. It was just, I couldn't. The fact that you couldn't root for anybody is what really hurts a movie. You're supposed to be on somebody's side, and I was on the side of just if everybody died, I'd be okay.
Well, one of the most interesting things about the ending of 1 that they never touched back on ever again was the fact that, like, so 1 ends with them driving away from the house and Michael's burning in the house, blah, 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 and, like, they're taking Lori to the hospital because she's been stabbed.
Right.
And the movie ends with, like, a pan shot down to the granddaughter who's holding the knife still. Like, and then it starts to play
cool.
that,
That's
like,
a creepy,
starts to play the Michael Myers theme.
Yes.
You're like, okay, well, that could be interesting. Like,
how affected is she by this?
so, you went through such a traumatic experience and it just messed you up. Like, there's no coming back from it ever. And then 2, nothing. Like, there's not even a mention of it. And then this movie, it's like, the idea that there's something wrong with her is kind of there a couple of times. And, like,
But
that's
it's
a
not-
common theme between her and Corey is that they're messed up because they've had these things happen. But it's just not really delved into at all.
And you don't root for her, or you don't understand her reasoning for liking him. Like, you're not on the dramatic journey that the movie seems to think it's telling. That, like, oh, I see why she falls for him, or
Yeah,
I
they're
get
on this love
why they're
journey that's
together.
been 2
and
days.
And right along, you're like, whoa, what is happening here? And of course, we as the audience know more about him than she does, but it's still like it doesn't do her any favors as far as rooting for her. It makes you go, you're an idiot too.
Yeah.
So yes, I despise this movie, and my rating will reflect that.
Well, Matt, are there other things you could pick out?
As the horror movie
have we
aficionado?
covered all the things
I know.
to dislike
What's
about
left for
this
you, Matt?
movie?
I agree with everything that's been
Yes.
said. I don't need to say much more, but I will say a few things.
Please.
One, I just love the Michael Myers soundtrack music.
I will say yes.
Theme music.
The score.
It's really fun.
The score was good, and I like that there were hints of the theme, not just the traditional theme, but like even in some of it was slowed down, or there was a little.
There's a couple of synthesizer tracks in
Yes.
this movie that I was
Yes.
like, where did those come
Yeah,
from? But I'm digging
I
it.
will say, if there's one thing to praise, I will say that the score was well thought out as far as incorporating the original theme, as well as like remixes of it.
Yes. Something else that I think you both touched on that there weren't the deaths
Oh,
were
gosh.
not a highlight. There was
They were
no
depressing.
real originality,
Yeah.
with one exception.
That's true.
One great exception, when a welding torch is used
Oh.
in someone's mouth,
But you don't even see it.
to kind of burn their head away.
It's obscured though.
It
And they-
is obscured, but still, it's
I
there.
know, but like, come
I
on.
thought you were going to say the disc jockey.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that was decent too.
But it still wasn't what you want.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And
Possibly 2 satisfying kills in there.
yes,
I would,
But that's
I
a
would
stretch.
not use the word satisfying anywhere in this movie.
and I'm gonna say that one other negative about this movie that hasn't been touched on to this point is the reveal of Michael Myers' face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we've seen his face before. I can't remember.
I don't think clearly.
But
only in not the original one, but the one of this trilogy. Like you see it from the side and in the back of his head and stuff like that when he's in the mental.
gotcha.
I feel like
that's true.
I feel like
true.
maybe there was, in the original there might have been like a picture frame where he was in the picture.
Yeah.
But like again, it was you didn't know
It's still
him.
kind of obscured
Right.
in this movie.
Yes, you don't
But
really
they
see,
show more
even
of it
when
than
they
you
show
would
it,
like.
you just see more of it than you've ever seen.
I would have liked them to focus a little more on the unmasking process.
Okay, so you would have, yeah.
I would have
think-
liked to say, "Boom! Here's his face."
Yes.
We finally see his face after all.
Right.
It's Robert Englund, or it's Kane Hodder under that mask.
Nope. You don't get that.
You don't get that. You get
those two people played Freddy and Jason. just in
True.
case.
Thank you.
True.
Anyone was
Yes, audience.
curious. It was a good joke. I don't want it to fall flat on anyone.
I got it.
and it was not an imposing face at all. It was like a weird
An
old
old
man
guy.
with like a little scruff of a beard.
I know, almost like a soul patch.
Yes.
I was like, what?
And it was like, how is this the man who's like bringing someone off the ground with one arm,
Right.
Yeah.
and then stabbing them against the wall? That kill was pretty decent too.
I feel like that was a pretty classic.
That was like an old
Yes.
school kill.
But the fact that he left her hanging there, pinned to the wall with the knife, is pretty good. Pretty good. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's you guys covered all of the negative territory.
There's so much of it.
And I agree with all of it. This movie was incoherent. The story was bizarre.
Yeah.
The characters did things that there was no real reason for them to do. Things escalated way too quickly at like different points and went way too slow at other points.
Yeah.
So the lack of timing was glaring throughout the lack of pacing, I should say, was glaring throughout the film. It's not good. It's not a good
No.
movie.
Yeah.
It's not a good Halloween movie. It's not a good horror movie.
No.
It's not a good movie.
It's not satisfying.
I think what we're seeing here is the idea that this is not a new idea, is that the first movie was so good
Yep.
that the money starts rolling in and they're like, ooh, we got to stretch this.
No, you don't.
A la The Matrix. Or like
Yeah.
any of those kind of trilogies that have just like fallen short. It's just like, as soon as one made a whole bunch of money because of how good it was, like, and satisfying ending, satisfying, like, you didn't need to go further than what it did.
But it can be done. The
It certainly can be done.
The Saw franchise, with a couple.
Not every
Saw is great.
sequel of the Saw
But-
is good.
No,
too.
they're not. But the fact
I
that-
agree with
but
you that the
because they
Saw
were shot-
movies are.
they were
good.
shot together. They at least there was more effort made, even in the bad ones, to be at least along for the ride. I don't.
And they also didn't cost any money to make.
That is true too.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
gotta get on to the business here.
here we go. Get that spreadsheet updated.
How many pumpkin suicides would you give this movie? Which in the movie there
Yep.
is where someone's faking a suicide and they shoot a pumpkin to trick someone, which
Yep.
I found to be
Hilarious.
entertaining.
I think it was going to the original homage of the pumpkin poster.
Yeah. So 0 being the worst, because then you have no diversion pumpkin suicides, and then 5 being the best, because then you have these weird suicidal pumpkins, which
Right.
are like
Maybe make a pumpkin pie.
just weird. So, Matt,
Well, I'm gonna give this a worse rating than apparently I gave Cats.
Ooh.
I know we shared that
Yep.
statistic not so long ago, but I forgot it already. What was
Yep.
your cat score?
I
1.0.
surprisingly gave it a 1,
Okay.
which
I think at that point you really hadn't gone into 0.2, 0.5s
Yeah.
yet, so you didn't think you would.
Well, and I think you're, if I remember this correctly, which apparently I've been wrong in a lot of things that
Yeah.
I've been remembering. You were like, I want to reward the dancing in this movie.
That is what he said.
'Cause you were
That
like-
is what he said.
You were like,
There
you were
was
like,
some
yeah,
effort made to
the
choreography.
dancing was pretty good.
Fair enough. Well, I'm going to go below that because there was no dancing in this movie.
Oh.
Not at
Well,
all.
actually, I take that back. There
was
was
some
there
really
was some
weird
dancing,
Oh, yeah.
but it had really bad choreography.
Yeah,
It was
And
music,
god
too.
awful.
Didn't make any sense.
It was like a mosh pit of two,
terrible.
and that was it. And,
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh. Anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Point 8 is where we're gonna roll in.
It's not your
0.8,
lowest.
not even a whole suicide pumpkin
No.
diversion.
right.
Just a bit fell on the floor.
Just
Yeah.
close to 1. So
The pumpkin tried to shoot itself in the head, and it just
Missed.
grazed.
yes, it's not a good movie. Don't see it.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
No.
The only reason you should see this movie,
Oh.
sorry for
Yeah,
yeah,
it's okay. It's okay.
jumping back in, is if you have watched all of the other Halloween
Oh,
movies.
I don't even look.
Then I think you have to watch this.
Well, yes,
You have to.
because we're cartographers first.
Yes.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
I would say, judging off of how empty our theater was and how they
No.
had a ton of showings tonight, which in
Yes.
no way, shape, or
No.
form have panned out, I
Yes,
think
this
this is going to
movie.
bomb pretty hard.
Yeah.
So too.
Agree.
So,
As it should.
Tim?
So I'm definitely going to be giving it the lowest rating I've given out on this podcast.
Yes.
And it might be the lowest rating in the history of the podcast.
Oh dear.
Which right
like
now
I said,
is what, a 0.3?
a point. Yes.
Okay.
No, point
Just
2.
my
You did Cats, point 2.
Two. Okay.
I am having not seen Cats because of your reviews.
That's
Good job.
exactly
I
why. That's exactly why this podcast.
I have
exists.
nothing to compare it to, but I know that, like I said, I despised it as I was watching it. This gets a 0.1 for me.
Oh.
The only thing, the 0.1, is the score.
Okay.
And in fairness to this movie, if you haven't seen the first two, it is already this movie's bad. But if you haven't seen the first two, you're not connected on any level.
Right.
So
I've at
I will
least
admit
seen-
that is me.
At least seeing like these characters and what they've gone through and stuff like that. Not, I mean, obviously because Matt's a 0.8, so it's not like it's going to
Yes.
raise it that much.
No. I will
But
admit, having not seen the movie.
your view coming in and having not seen any of them, and me just giving you a poor
but
explanation of
I've
what
at
happened
least-
in the movies before the movie
I've
started.
at least heard and read that the first movie was good, and now I actually want to. Amazingly, I do want to go back and see that because it sounds like that was the proper sequel. And I would go back and watch that, but I just have no reason to see the kills.
I think if you want to spend some time this Halloween season watching Halloween movies
Watch the
from the
original.
Halloween franchise,
Yes.
watch number 1, watch the first one in this ending trilogy, and go on your way. That's all you really need to do.
I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
I feel in my heart I keep wanting to make a case for the original two,
I
but
think the original two was
I
good,
cannot remember what
but I
happens
don't
in that
remember the
movie.
ending. But I feel like I remember it
But I
being
remember, yeah, I just
okay.
remember it being so kind of innovative in the fact that it picks up right after one.
Yes, and it was the first of its kind at the time
So,
to do that.
but I don't know. I can't
No,
I can't
get it.
give that go watch that movie until I've seen it again.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So 0.1
So-
is true.
Yeah.
Todd.
This is not as much as I dislike this movie, it is not on a level of dislike how much I disliked Cats.
Okay.
Which is my
Yep, that's your barometer.
that's my morning
Yep.
star when I grade bad movies. at this
Well,
point.
and that's also
So-
what I based mine on because you said in the Cats review you were very clear about how angry you were.
Yeah.
And the anger.
I
I'm
did-
angry tonight.
I did not
So-
come out this
Right.
movie angry. I came out of it disappointed.
Yes, I was angry, so
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
So only because of the potential and
Mhm.
some of the interesting things that they didn't do anything with, like. But I'll go with the first number I had in my head, which has happened in a long time. But I'm a 0.8, matching Matt here.
Mm,
Our
okay.
16th time ever.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
you
what
got
I
it.
hear.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
I'm bringing the average down.
That's
It's worth it.
a bad one.
it's worth it for this movie.
Oh, boy.
Well,
Someone had to. Good
Yep.
thing it was you, Tim.
Yep.
People might hear this and go, 0.8, I might go see that.
Yeah, 0.8 for Halloween.
Now,
Okay.
0.01. No, I'm not going
warned
to
you.
bother with that.
We warned you.
0.1.
Worse than
Oh,
Cats.
0.1.
Worse than Cats.
0.01 would be
like-
an order of magnitude worse.
Yes, thank you.
It would be
I'm not afraid.
a hundredth of a point.
I'm not afraid to put this as my benchmark right now,
Yeah,
having not seen Cats.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up, any last calls, last nuggets of joy and truth and pain? And
I think
suffering?
why Cats was so frustrating to me was because I'd never seen the play, never knew anything about
right.
it, and I was like, you know what? Cats has been made fun of for years. I want to go in and give this thing a shot.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it just was so bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well.
Yep.
All right.
This is not on that level for me, but
That's
I just
fine.
wanted to reaffirm how I feel about Cats the movie.
You have rated other movies worse. Not Todd has not, but Matt has.
Yes. My little nugget
Matt wanted to praise those dancers.
today, I probably would not.
No.
That was my gut reaction. I stand by.
Yeah, that's what we do.
One thing that I did think about when we had this friendship between Corey and Michael Myers
Oh my god. Yeah.
was the entire Friday the 13th. I forget which episode it was.
Oh, boy.
Maybe it was 5, where
Jason lives.
there was no. Maybe it was 4. There was a killer with a mask, and it turned out to not be Jason
it just
Voorhees.
was-
It was
it
just
just
a
was
I
guy.
think that
more.
was 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yes.
that was a much better version of
right,
what
the-
happened
the-
here.
I thought you were gonna say it was the weird relationship that Jason had with Corey Feldman in whatever movie that was.
Yeah, that one.
That was.
Oh boy.
I think basically what we're saying is go watch any Friday the
Yeah.
13th movie
You want satisfying
over
kills.
this movie.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Especially the one where Kevin Bacon gets it in the back.
That's the first one.
That is the first one.
Yeah. And it's the neck. Back
It's
of
the
the neck.
neck.
Yeah, it's like
I thought it was
back of
up
the neck
through-
up through the neck.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's that.
Nice.
That's
Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies,
Sure is.
where we watched Halloween Ends. And Halloween did end.
Oh, boy, did
And
it.
now you know that you don't need to see this Halloween.
I feel like we were due for a really bad movie.
Yeah.
We were on a string there
I'm
for a
actually
while,
glad to
doing
be on.
3s and 4s.
I feel like I've been on mostly good movies.
Yeah,
It's
now I
nice to
feel
have a-
more grounded.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
also thinking about if you rated Cats today, and it would be much lower. It'd be like how jaded we've become by watching so many movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And truly thinking about, you know what I could do for that 2 hours back. You know enough going on in my life that 2 hours back could probably equal something meaningful.
You could.
But we'll never do that.
No.
Listeners.
The whole point is gut react.
Gut reactions. Okay. So our average rating for this movie, Halloween Ends, is a 0.5 and 2/3 of a hundredth, 2/3 of a
You
tenth,
can
I
lock
guess.
that 2/3 off.
Yeah. But yeah, 0.5, maybe
That's
round
one
up
of
to
the lower-
0.6.
yeah.
It's
Is that
not
our
good.
is that our lowest rated
Cumulative?
movie, like a cumulative rating
It's
movie?
close.
Because you were 1 and I was a 0.2 for Cats.
Yeah.
No, I think your
It's
guys, Adam's
Raising
family,
Cain?
Adam's family,
Oh,
were
Adam's
both
Family was worse.
really low together.
The animated Adam's Family.
And there was one other, I think, one of the streaming movies that you.
Yeah,
guys
that
hated.
would.
Raising
makes
Cain
sense.
was
Raising
pretty
Cain,
low.
I think, is your.
I
is
can't
your
even remember
benchmark.
what that movie is.
You guys hated that movie.
I'm sure I hated it.
Well, anyway.
I mean, like, but
Don't see this movie.
No.
Don't be excited for this movie. Be excited for our spreadsheet, which will be linked to soon in some form, and you'll be
Yes.
able to base all of
Compare
your
your
movie
notes.
selections.
there you go.
Alec, I'm looking at you. I'm
Yeah.
talking to you. You asked for this many times, many months ago, and now
Finally
you're going to
here.
get it. You're going to be able to pick movies based on our ratings.
And we will add this
And
to it.
this movie will not be on the list of movies that you pick based on our ratings.
Probably.
Nope.
So, thank you, our listeners and subscribers and downloaders, for doing your thing. And for some reason, we had over 200 downloads last week.
Like 283.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
It was wild. It's always wild
Excellent.
when that happens. And to the best of my capability of understanding what happens is I think there's like some robot that comes in and downloads each of our episodes one time, and the more episodes we have, the bigger that number boosts up.
All right.
You know,
Hey, we'll take it.
We'll take it. Thank you, all robots too.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.